About me and kind of the reasoning why I went into this project. Obviously, I'm a senior here at Newport in high school and honors academy. Next year, I'm going to be going to Purdue University for professional flight and probably a dual major in airline management also. I do have my pilot's license, and flying is really a big passion of mine, but I also really love to travel. Last year, I had the amazing opportunity to host 2 German exchange students, and I'm going on the German trip to Germany this summer. Next slide, please. So kind of since I first heard about this project, like my freshman year, I kind of knew, or I guess I kind of knew that I really wanted to do something in aviation because that's kind of been just my passion my whole life. And so I kind of told myself, I have 3 years to find something, and I'll think of something in that time, looking back, just looking forward. And 3 years kind of came and went, and I couldn't really think of anything. And then I was kind of hoping that when I got my pilot's license, it'd be a lot easier for me to think of something. But it really just kind of got a lot harder because flying, while it's a fun hobby, it's very expensive. And so kind of trying to do something in that hobby takes a lot of time, and time in aviation is money. So, and then the other issue was that there are many laws. Like I looked into doing something where, maybe I could volunteer to teach people about flying or kind of show my passion or, volunteer or something. I have a private pilot's license, which kind of has a lot of restrictions on volunteering. I'm not allowed to advertise myself or fly for any money or anything kind of like that. So when I was looking at that, I kind of decided to steer away from that a little bit and then focus on another thing I'm really interested in, which is travel, and kind of think about Germany, what my experiences with that were last year. So I got to travel to Germany last year. I got to go to Ludenscheid and visit my exchange student in her city, which was a really amazing experience. It was really interesting, and I got a pretty good idea of German culture a little bit, just kind of the first-hand experience. So through the Honors Academy project, I really just wanted to help other people, especially on the American side, and still learn about Germany in the process. So next slide, please. So GAPP, as I've kind of hinted at, is called the German American Partnership Program. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization. It was founded in 1972, and it's the largest exchange program between the U.S. and another country. It's got 750 U.S. schools and over 400,000 alumni, which is pretty crazy. So GAPP requirements specify a 14-day minimum in either country. So when the German students came here, I think they spent 24 days or so. So the 14 days is just the minimum. And then at least 10 days spent in a home. They spent more than that here. And 5 days spent at a school, which they also spent more than that here. And then we'll be doing the same thing this summer, which is really exciting. So next slide, please. So my initial process was kind of brainstorming, how do I want to help people? How do I want to present my information? What information do I want to present? That was kind of a big thing. I had to talk to my parents, just think about things, write down some of my ideas, and talk to Mr. LaCroix. And then after I got all that figured out, I kind of just went to a writing phase, which, I don't know, just finalizing information, doing research, combining people's experiences, that kind of thing. So that was a fun part, but probably one of the longer parts too. Formatting, so I wanted to present my work and information in a kind of fun way, which, I don't know, more than just a sheet of paper or something. So just trying to think of ways that I would think if I got something, what would make me want to read it or be interested in it. And finally, just final edits, grammar mistakes, what changes, it's the appropriate wording kind of thing. So next slide, please. So, like I said, brainstorming was my first part. So I was kind of thinking, I didn't want to do just writing a paper or anything like that, but I wanted something that people could physically have and kind of flip through. So I really kind of wanted a booklet, more or I was thinking maybe a website or maybe a combination or both. And then after that, I had to start thinking what information is useful, what people actually want to read, and how do I combine all the experiences of the people in it, because once again, I'm just one person who was in GAPP for 1 year. So I don't want to, obviously I don't know everything, I don't want to lead people astray. And then I kind of had to think back to my time in 2023, like what do I wish I had known, or what do I wish I had before I hosted the 2 students from Germany. So this picture here is kind of my original idea / plan sheet. So at that time I already kind of knew I wanted a guide. This was like back in October, I think. So I just had a couple ideas written down, and just some specifics in those ideas, and just things like that. And so, next slide please. Next is the writing, which definitely took the longest amount of time, just because I had so much information I wanted to say, and I had to do a lot of research, and I wanted to talk to a lot of people that were also involved in the program. And so in the end, it ended up being about 7.5 pages in a size 11 font, I think, and that was kind of a lot. So I would reread it, and I'd edit it, and I'd just constantly ask myself, like, how do I put this information in a way that's kind of fun, and entertaining, and just easy to read and understand also. And then going through fixing grammar mistakes, things like that, any errors in my writing. It was a lot to have. So this picture I have here is just a screenshot I took on Google Docs. It's just an introduction and background. So my whole project itself is put into, I want to say, I think 7 different categories. So I have like the introduction, kind of the background, like information about GAPP and why exchange programs are important, and then things about life in Germany. So kind of noting big differences that you can point out when your German student comes here, and just some fun things, some fun informational things, things about Ludenscheid, the city where the kids come from, kind of how their school system works, and just other things like that. And then the next section was actually like the GAPP experience, so finding out like who your kid is, kind of contacting them before they arrive, what advice I have with that, and then their actual arrival and how to prepare for them, and then what you do when they're actually here. So take them to Costco, it's kind of a crazy experience for them, or something like that. So just ideas like that, and then while they were here last year, we also took them on spring break, so kind of some spring break advice, just kind of things like that. And then also I had some advice for issues, some minor arguments or some cultural differences that could pose some problems, such as like in Germany, they like to keep doors closed just because that's how their air conditioning kind of system works there. It's more efficient with doors closed, but here we kind of see doors closed as like a, shutting you out kind of way. So just things like that could be a little bit of a issue between parent and German student. And then also some major issues when things just don't seem to be going well at all, just what you should do there, any language barrier issues also. And then finally, I really wanted to get a lot of feedback from people last year. So I contacted some people and asked them if you could just give me a couple sentences, any encouragement or advice you have from hosting last year. If you could just sum it up in 1 or 2 sentences and send that to me. So the last about 1.5 pages of my little booklet is just some quotes from American parents, American students, and some German students also about just what could have gone better last year and why they just love GAPP so much. Next, please. Formatting was probably the most challenging and annoying part of the whole guide. So I kind of insisted on a booklet, which So it's just basically just a bunch of pieces of paper folded over so you could flip through it, kind of like a book. But the problem with that is that to make that double-sided, the back of one side of the booklet is not the same as it's not like chronological. So that became really frustrating really fast. I soon realized this is not going to work super well on Google Docs, which is what I was using. And of course, after I was finished with my project, I was talking to my mom about it. She said, well, some publishing software probably would have been really good or something like that. And I was like, yeah, well, kind of too late now. But as you can see in this picture, it's kind of, I guess it's kind of hard because it's kind of small up there. But the way it went is that each page was laid out horizontally, and so I'd go from one side of the page to the other on the next page, and so all the way down like that. And it was 12 pages total in length, and so then when you got to the bottom of the 12th page, you had to go to the other side and then work your way up, so the bottom of the page below became the top page on the other side. So that took a while to figure out, and it was really frustrating. The other problem was that my original was only 10 pages long, and so if I wanted if I wanted like a booklet, it would have to be in a factor of 4. So I had to add some more in. And then the other issue with doing this was that when I wanted to add something to the bottom of a page, instead of going to the next page on the other side, like I had to do, it would just go to the top of the other column. So I had to like fix it because it would move everything around again, and it was just pretty terrible. And then the last issue is that the formatting wasn't the same on every computer, so I did most of this on my Chromebook, and so at the end, like I said, it was 12 pages, which is a factor of 4. But when I went to print it off in the school library, for some reason, it was 13 pages, which just kind of completely messed it all up. And so I went back and I was super confused, like what did I do? Did I do something wrong? I went back to my Chromebook and it was the same. And I was like, okay, that's really weird. And so I eventually went to a teacher and and had her use her laptop, and it worked from there with the teacher printer. And so I figured if Mr. LaCroix actually wants to use this in the future, he'd probably use his laptop, which would use probably the 12-page better, or it would actually use like the 12 pages, so I didn't have to worry about that a ton, but it was just a little bit of a panic there. And then the formatting was also, it kind of reminded me of like NASA during the 60s a little bit, because I would run into all these problems one at a time. So I'd like do something, and I'd print it off, and it'd just be a catastrophe. And then I'd just fix that problem, print it off again, and it'd be another catastrophe. And so my final work is kind of like Apollo 11, I guess, to me. But it just took a really long time, and it was really frustrating. Next, please. So finally, the final edits, when I had finally worked all that out, I went and brought it to Mr. LaCroix, kind of a semi-finished product. Before that, of course, we discussed ideas, and I think it sounded like he really liked my project idea and things like that. And so I gave him my final project, and he took it over the weekend and read it, and he said it was really great. He only had a couple things we wanted to change. Add some pictures in there, just not make it so, I don't know, essay-like. Change some wording here and there just to make it, I don't know, not as blunt maybe. Ask some more people for quotes, fix any errors, and then test once again with the printing. So after all that, it works, and hopefully something that Mr. LaCroix will be able to use for future host families if he wants to. But when I initially came to Mr. LaCroix with this idea, I felt really bad because he's been doing this for so long and he's done such an amazing job with all this. But I didn't want to like come in and just say, last year was just a complete mess for me. This is the way it needs to be now or something. Just kind of break off his many years of doing this. But I did think that initially or I did think that having this kind of student's perspective over just from 1 year would be really beneficial to people who are kind of in the same boat that I was. Mr. LaCroix has a lot of experience and he kind of knows overall how things always go, but this is kind of the specifics, and just after 1 year of experience, what did I notice? I thought that would be really beneficial for people, and coming from a student also. So next slide. It was a really fun process. It was fun to think about. I don't know, remembering how much fun me and my German students had, and just how much growth happened during that time. It was a fun process. And I hope that's something Mr. LaCroix can use in the future, if he wants to. And then with all the formatting issues, I haven't done this yet, but I might end up putting like an online version out there, just a PDF of not the kind of crazy version that I have on a Google Doc, but just kind of a straight and normal version that he could, if it's not working somehow, he could just easily print that off, and it would probably work a lot better, just wouldn't look as fun or kind of as I wanted it to be. So next slide, please. Are there any questions? Mrs. Erdos or Mrs. Bear?
Have you thought about a German version of this, or is there something like this for German students?
I'm sure that they have their own version over there or something like that. But I feel like that actually is kind of a good idea. Creating like a German, like.
Spend your summer translating.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I didn't do that, but that sounds like something that would be a lot of fun too. So, Mrs. Erdos, do you have a question?
So through this project and through your worldly travels and such, anything coming to mind in terms of your future for linguistics studies, or just for breeding this love of different cultures?
Well, I don't know. I'm hoping that being an airline pilot, not only will I have just a lot of fun doing that, but it will also give me a lot of chances to travel new places and meet new people and that kind of thing. But linguistics, I don't know. I have a lot of fun in German class, and it's been a lot of fun to learn German. And I don't know, every time I go someplace new, I always just like, oh my gosh, I should learn this new language, or that'd be like so cool to actually like, I don't know, kind of engage in that culture a little bit more. So I think there's definitely some more languages and cultures that I want to learn about deeply in my future. But as of right now, they're definitely undecided. I'll have to look into it a little bit more before I kind of dedicate to one more culture or language. Are there any other questions? Mrs. Hernandez?
You can say no. Can I publicly put you on the spot to perhaps either thank and or introduce your mentor in German?
In German, yeah. Okay. Hier ist LaCroix, ist mein Führer für dieses Projekt. Ich habe Deutsch für 4 Jahre gelernt und war die Lehrer für alle 4 Jahre. What else do you want me to say to that?
Since I don't fully comprehend what you're saying, I think
Okay. Perfect. All right, any other questions?